The mountain had no name on any map. It was just a dark shape rising above the clouds somewhere between two countries that had been at war, in one way or another, for longer than most people could remember. At the top of that mountain, in the coldest hour of the night, a woman lay completely still in the snow. She had been lying there for 9 hours. She had not eaten. She had not moved. She had not made a single sound. Her name was Elena Vasquez, and she was watching. Elena was 34 years old. She grew up in Laredo, Texas, the youngest child in a family that worked hard and asked for very little. Her father was a border patrol officer. Her mother taught 4th grade. They were quiet, serious people who believed in doing your job well and not making a fuss about it. Elena was the same way. She was the kind of person who listened more than she talked, who noticed things other people missed, who finished what she started. When her older brother, a Marine, was killed overseas, Elena did not fall apart. She enlisted. The military discovered what the people who knew her had always known: Elena Vasquez had an almost impossible ability to stay calm. Most people, when they are under pressure, begin to fall apart in small ways. Their hands shake a little. Their breathing speeds up. They make tiny mistakes. Elena did the opposite. The worse the situation, the calmer she became. She could lie in one position for hours without moving a single muscle. She could calculate distances and wind speeds in her head faster than most people could punch numbers into a calculator. She was one of the finest long-range shooters in the entire United States military, and after 14 years of service, she had earned the right to be attached to some of the most difficult missions the country ever sent its people on. Tonight was one of those missions. 6 men were moving through the valley below her. She could see them through her scope, small, careful shapes moving between rocks and shadows. They were SEAL operators, the best the Navy had. Their mission was to find and stop a man known as the Architect, a commander responsible for planning attacks that had taken the lives of more than 200 soldiers over the years. He was hiding in a compound 2 kilometers below, surrounded by armed guards. The 6 men were going to go in quietly and bring the mission to an end. Elena's job was to watch from above and make sure nobody surprised them. She had already done this 4 times tonight. 4 guards had stepped into positions where they could have spotted the team below. 4 times, Elena had made the calculation: distance, wind, angle, and 4 times she had acted. Quietly. Cleanly. The team below had kept moving without interruption. They did not know exactly what she had done for them. They only knew she was up there, watching, and that meant they could breathe a little easier. At 3:52 in the morning, everything changed. A 5th guard appeared from a doorway that had not been on any map or photograph the team had studied. He was not supposed to be there. No intelligence report had mentioned him. He stepped outside, looked toward the courtyard, and the moment he saw shapes moving that should not have been moving, he raised his weapon and fired. The courtyard became chaos instantly. Lights. Noise. Men running. 2 of the SEAL operators were hit, not seriously enough to stop them, but badly enough to slow them down. The team leader, a man named Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, made the call immediately. They were not going to fight their way through the compound. They were going to run. He had a route planned for exactly this kind of situation, a path across open ground that led to a pickup zone where a helicopter was waiting. He gave the order and the team moved. But the open ground was not empty anymore. On the east wall, a heavy machine gun had come to life. It was firing in long, sweeping bursts across the only path the team could take. 2 men were already wounded. If that gun kept firing, no one was going to make it to the helicopter. Elena saw all of this through her frosted scope. She had already adjusted her position, already calculated the new distance. 740 meters. The wind had picked up, 11 miles per hour, moving left to right. She accounted for it without thinking. She fired twice. The machine gun went silent. The team kept running. Then the rocket hit. It did not hit Elena directly. If it had, there would be no story to tell. It hit a rock formation 4 meters to her left, and the force of the explosion lifted her off the ground and threw her backward into the mountainside. She hit the rock's shoulder first, then her left arm twisted beneath her in a way that arms are not designed to twist. She heard something snap. She felt the pain a half-second later, sharp and total. Her spotting scope was gone. Her radio had landed somewhere in the dark and was not making any sound. She lay on her back, staring up at a sky with no stars, and for a moment she could not remember where she was or why she was there. Down in the valley, Marcus Webb called her on the radio. No answer. He called again. Silence. He tried a third time, and a fourth, his voice getting tighter each time. Around him, his men were moving, carrying the two who were wounded, heading toward the extraction point. He had seconds to make a decision. He could not send anyone back up the mountain, not with wounded men, not in the middle of an active situation, not in the dark. He looked up at the ridge where Elena had been and saw nothing. No light. No movement. No response. Echo is down, he said into his radio, using her call sign. His voice was flat and controlled, the way military voices are trained to be when the situation is bad. She's gone. We have to move. The team moved. Elena Vasquez was not gone. She became aware of herself slowly, the way a person does when they have been knocked hard and are coming back from somewhere far away. She was lying on her back. Her left arm was not working. There was blood running into her left eye from somewhere on her forehead, and her left ear was producing a ringing sound so loud she could barely hear anything else. She tried to move and found that she could, slowly, and with great pain, but she could. She rolled onto her right side and pushed herself up with her one good arm. Her rifle was still there. It had landed on top of her when she fell, and somehow, in the way that the most important things sometimes survive when everything else breaks, it was intact. She found her secondary radio next. It had been thrown about 3 meters away and was lodged between two rocks. She reached for it. It was broken. The screen was black and none of the buttons produced any response. She was alone, in the dark, on a mountain, with a broken arm, a head wound, and no way to communicate with anyone. She pulled herself to the edge of the ridge and looked down. What she saw made her reach for her rifle. The 6 men below were running across open ground toward the extraction point. They were moving fast and low, the way trained people move when they are afraid but not panicking. What they could not see, what was completely hidden from their angle by a curve in the road, were 3 vehicles moving to intercept them. The vehicles had their lights off. They were coming fast from the east, converging on the exact point where the helicopter was going to land. The team was running directly into a trap and they had no idea. Elena looked at her left arm. She had pulled her belt off at some point, she did not remember doing it, and wrapped it tightly around the arm to keep it from moving. It was not a proper fix. It was the kind of thing you do when a proper fix is not available. She looked at her rifle. She looked down the mountain at her team. She thought about Marcus Webb's phone. She had seen it once, weeks ago, when they were on a transport flight and he had shown the team a photograph. 2 small girls with red hair, sitting on a porch somewhere, squinting into the sun and smiling. His daughters. She could not remember their names now. She could only remember the photograph. She picked up her rifle. The first shot was the hardest. Not because of the distance, 820 meters, longer than anything she had ever attempted with one arm, but because of the angle. She was lying on her right side, her left arm strapped against her body, using her chin and her right elbow to hold herself steady enough to aim. The scope had a crack running across the lower left corner of the lens. She worked around it. She breathed. She found stillness somewhere deep inside herself, the way she had learned to do over 14 years of difficult moments. She fired. The lead vehicle stopped. The engine block was destroyed, and the sudden halt caused the second vehicle to swerve hard to avoid a collision. The road was narrow. The second vehicle went partly off the edge and stopped. The third vehicle, not yet close enough to see what had happened, was slowing down. Below her, the team heard the shot. They heard the vehicles stop. They understood immediately. Echo, Marcus Webb said into his radio. His voice was no longer flat and controlled. There was something in it now, something that a man trained his entire adult life to keep hidden could not quite hold back. Echo, come back. No answer came. But another shot did. Elena fired 4 more times. Each shot was aimed at something specific, calculated to delay, to disrupt, to give the 6 men running below her enough time to reach the helicopter. She did not think about the pain in her arm, which by now was extraordinary. She did not think about the blood dried on the side of her face or the ringing that still filled her left ear. She thought about the 2 girls on the porch. She thought about the other 5 people in that team, each with their own people waiting at home. After the 5th shot, the world went dark. She did not feel herself lose consciousness. One moment she was looking through the scope, and the next moment there was nothing. She went down quietly, in the snow, on a mountain with no name, and she did not know if any of it had worked. It had worked. The 6 men reached the helicopter. The 2 who were wounded were helped aboard first. Marcus Webb was the last one on. He told the pilot to wait. The pilot said they could not wait. Webb told him to wait anyway, and something in the way he said it made the pilot wait. A second helicopter had already been called. Webb had radioed the moment he realized what was happening on the ridge above him. He could not explain exactly what he knew, only that the shots were coming from exactly the right positions, landing exactly where they needed to land, and that whoever was firing them was not finished yet. The second helicopter went up the mountain and found Elena in the snow 41 minutes after she lost consciousness. She had lost a significant amount of blood. Her left arm required 3 surgeries. She lost part of the hearing in her left ear permanently. She spent 11 days in intensive care at a hospital in Germany. The first thing she said when she woke up was a question. Did they make it? A nurse told her that all 6 men had reached the helicopter safely. Elena nodded and closed her eyes. She did not say anything else for a long time. Marcus Webb flew to Germany. He sat beside her bed for 3 hours before she woke again. When she opened her eyes and saw him sitting there, she did not look surprised. She looked at him the way she looked at everything, quietly, steadily, taking it in. He told her he was sorry. He told her he had believed she was gone and that he had made the call to leave and that he would carry that decision for the rest of his life. He said there was no training, no protocol that covered the exact situation he had faced, and that none of that made him feel any better about it. Elena listened to all of it. Then she said, "You made the right call with the information you had. I would have made the same one." He shook his head. She was being generous and they both knew it. "I saw the photo of your daughters," she said. "The one on your phone. On the transport flight." He looked at her. "That is why I picked up the rifle," she said simply. Then she closed her eyes again because she was very tired. What Elena did that night was eventually recognized officially. The military awarded her the Silver Star, the 3rd highest combat honor the country gives. The ceremony was quiet. It was not announced publicly until Elena gave permission, and by that point she had already returned home, spent a few months thinking about what to do next, and accepted a position teaching at a training facility in Montana. She did not give interviews. She did not appear at events. She was not interested in being known for one night on a mountain. Years later, a military historian tracked her down and asked if she would speak about what happened. She agreed to one conversation. When the historian asked what she was thinking during those final minutes, lying on her side in the snow, one arm broken, blood on her face, her team not knowing she was alive, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said this. "I was not thinking about anything big. I was not thinking about my country or my career or whether anyone would ever know what I did. I was thinking about Marcus's kids. Those 2 little girls with the red hair. I thought, their father needs to come home. And then I thought about everyone else down there, and all the people waiting for them. I just picked up my rifle. That is all there was to it." The historian asked her if she considered herself a hero. She thought about it for a moment. "I consider myself someone who did her job," she said. "On a very bad night, with one arm, I did my job. If that is what a hero is, then fine. But I do not think it is more complicated than that. The complicated part was the choice. Once I made the choice, the rest was just work." That is the story of Elena Vasquez. Not the story of a perfect soldier or a fearless person who never felt pain or doubt. The story of a person who, when everything had gone wrong and no one was watching and every reasonable excuse in the world was available to her, decided to pick up the rifle anyway. 5 shots. One arm. 800 meters of dark mountain air between her and the people she was protecting. All 5 found their mark. She retired from the Navy with 14 years of service and a hearing aid in her left ear. She drives a truck. She drinks her coffee black. She lives near a range in Montana where, on quiet mornings, you can hear the distant sound of a rifle and know that somewhere out there, Elena Vasquez is still working. Still watching. Still doing her job.